Layla Moore was dying. She was my husband's lifelong childhood sweetheart, the one everyone said he was born to be with. We were on our honeymoon in Hokkaido when the news reached us. He tore himself away from me, my fingers still locked around his arm, and bit out, "Can't you just be reasonable?" With that, he turned and left for the airport. I stared out the window at the heavy falling snow, and tears finally burned their way down my cheeks. A moment later, my phone buzzed against the nightstand. "Where are you?" "Stay right where you are. I'm on my way." It was Jasper Cole, Ethan's lifelong best friend. Enough. Ethan had wrenched my hand off his arm, jabbing at his phone again and again as he tried to call Layla. She didn't pick up. "Can you please not go?" I'd been kneeling naked in the hotel's white plush duvet. He'd slapped my hand away when I reached for him again. "This is a matter of life and death. Can't you be reasonable? I'm warning you, Scarlett, don't make this worse than it already is." It had happened half an hour ago. Ethan, who always carried himself with the poised restraint of a seasoned educator, had finally lost his composure. This was only the second day of our honeymoon. I watched his back as he stood in his white dress shirt, his hands shaking so bad he could barely fasten the buttons. I knew he was dying to get to her side. He couldn't wait another second. I reached for my phone from the sheets, which still held the warmth of his body, and pulled up the flight booking app. "Take the express highway to the airport. You can still catch the last flight out." Only then did he seem to remember I was his wife, the woman he'd just married. He cupped my face in his hands, his voice thick with apology. "I'm so sorry. But I can't let anything happen to her because of me. Not again. I'll come back as soon as I handle this, and we'll finish our honeymoon, okay? I promise." His tone was so earnest, like he was begging me to understand. And if I'd said no after that, I would have been the unreasonable one. He was putting my heart through the ringer, and he didn't even realize it. Layla had been his whole life growing up. I was just a suitable match, a good enough wife from a respectable family, equally matched in social standing. Everyone in Ethan's circle knew that. I'd known it from the moment she'd reappeared, right after we announced our engagement. Our marriage hadn't even really started, and it was already over. Asking Ethan to stay with me and forget about her? It was never going to happen. And I didn't want to be the villain who got in their way, not again. "It's fine. This isn't my first time in Hokkaido. I'll have a good time. Just like I did last time." This time, he didn't kiss my forehead before he left. The second the door clicked shut behind him, something inside me slammed shut too. The snowscape of Hokkaido was breathtakingly beautiful. Big, soft flakes drifted down, but each one felt like a weight on my chest. Just like the first time I'd come here. People say you should travel with someone you love to find out if you're really right for each other. That first time, Ethan had promised to come with me. But right as we were about to board the plane, he'd gotten word that Layla had gotten an abortion, and was leaving the country to work even though she could barely stand. He'd left me standing there at the gate, confused and humiliated, to run to his childhood sweetheart's side. Back then, I'd had no idea the same thing would happen again on our honeymoon. I'd been so naive. I'd thought time could heal everything, even the crack Layla had driven between us. Tears streamed down my face, landing on my arm with a sharp, stinging ache. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again. It was Jasper. "Where are you?" When I didn't answer, he pressed on. "Where's Ethan?" Before I could get a word out, the tears came first. "Wait. Are you crying?" "It's okay. Just tell me where you are. I'll be right there. I'm in Hokkaido. I could barely get the words out between sobs. How embarrassing, Scarlett. This isn't even the first time. Why are you still crying? After a few broken sentences, I pieced it together. Jasper was in Japan too, for an academic law conference. It felt like the snow had barely started falling again when there was a knock at the door. When I opened it and saw Jasper standing there, snow dusting his shoulders, looking like he'd rushed all the way over, the tears dried up. I won't come in, he said. Grab your things. I'll take you to get something to eat. Jasper was always this thoughtful. I'd known him about as long as I'd known Ethan. The Hayes family came from a long line of distinguished academics. My father had built his fortune in business early on. Aunt May had set us up, thinking we'd be a good match. Ethan had hated the idea of a family-arranged introductory date, so he'd brought Jasper along for backup. I hadn't thought much of it at first. But one look at Ethan, quiet and refined, and I'd been hooked. He was 6'3", broad-shouldered and narrow-waisted, his suit jacket slung casually over one arm. Jasper, beside him, had been in a hoodie and jeans, with a clean American fade haircut. You'd never guess they were the same age. That first date would have been dead silent if it hadn't been for Jasper. The awkwardness had been unbearable. Looking back now, I want to kick myself. Love at first sight is just lust with a pretty name, and I'd paid way too high a price for mine. I didn't have the stomach to eat. I don't want to stay here any longer. If his mom sees we didn't come back together, she'll probably chew him out again. Before I could finish, Jasper cut in. Guess the wedding welcome gift from your in-laws wasn't big enough, huh? You still won't even call her mom. I knew he was trying to make me laugh, but the tight smile I forced probably looked terrible. Jasper, when are you flying back? I lifted an eyebrow at him. Whenever you are. Only if you want me to, though. That night, I didn't eat a single bite. I dragged Jasper to an izakaya and drank 5 bottles of Koro-ryu sake, washing down every sweet, stupid memory I'd clung to over the years. I passed out cold. When I woke up, the only thing on my phone was a flight confirmation from Jasper. Nothing from Ethan. He'd left his brand new wife alone in a foreign country, and he'd been too busy to even check in. Some part of me had still been holding out hope. But hope was just there to be crushed, wasn't it? On the flight back, he told me he'd seen Lila's Instagram post. And he'd seen Ethan's comment under it. He'd known something was wrong, so he'd called Ethan over and over. Of course, none of the calls had gone through. He walked me to my building and paused before leaving. Just talk it out, okay? I glanced up at the dark window of our apartment and gave him a thin smile to reassure him. When I pushed open the front door, silence greeted me. I ran my finger over the half-full glass of water Ethan had left on the dining table. My heart went cold all over again. 3 days. He hadn't come home in 3 days. I wandered through the dark house, my head still throbbing from the hangover. I ran my hand over the rough fabric of the couch. We'd picked it out together. When we were dating, he'd said this couch was his favorite spot in the whole house. And this dining table. I'd never been good about eating properly on my own, so Ethan had picked the most expensive one in the showroom. He said he wanted every meal to feel special for me. My steps were slow, each one feeling like I was walking on broken glass. When I'd first met Ethan, he'd just been a student affairs advisor at Harbor University. His pay wasn't great, and he'd stare at the skyrocketing housing prices on TV and sigh. I knew he didn't get along with his parents, so he'd been supporting himself the whole time. Back then, I'd straddle his lap and kiss his pretty eyes. "Ethan, I don't need a big house to be with you." He'd smiled, his eyes warm and bright, and said cockily, "My wife is a princess. Princesses live in castles. And I'm gonna build you one. All on my own." That year, the stock market boomed. Ethan, still new to trading, dabbled in day trading and made small, quick profits, and he'd immediately blown it on fancy gifts he'd seen other rich girls post about, just to make me happy. He'd always been scared my dad would look down on him for being a teacher. I'd looked at this man, and my heart had felt so full. So I'd begged my dad to get us exclusive insider stock tips. I dumped every cent from my personal rainy day fund into Ethan's portfolio. That's how we bought the house. When both our names went on the deed, Ethan had grinned like a little kid. What he didn't know was that the big house had trapped me, but it had never given me happiness. It was late at night by the time Ethan came home. The northern winter was cold enough to chill you to the bone. He'd barely walked in the door when Lila called. Her contact had a pink heart emoji next to her name, something only she got. When we first started dating, I'd gotten jealous about it. She changed it herself when she had my phone. "Do you really have to fight me over a contact name? I'm all yours, right? Don't worry about a stupid name." Then he'd kissed my forehead. I still remembered how it had felt. How could I not fight for it? Even when I tried my hardest, I never got more than a fraction of his attention. He answered the phone right in front of me, like there was nothing wrong with it. "Is your wife back? Let me talk to her, I wanna explain." A bright, playful voice came through the speaker. Ethan hit speaker and pushed the phone toward me. "Hey, sis." I swear, one of those idiots must have blown everything out of proportion. I just burned my hand with hot water and posted it on Instagram. Ethan totally overreacted and flew all the way back. "I guess you spoil him way more than I do. Look how dramatic he got. I know you guys were on your honeymoon. I already chewed him out for it, I promise. But he hasn't slept properly in days because he was so worried. Let him get some rest tonight, okay? I'll treat you guys to Southern comfort food sometime. I know this amazing spot." I stared at that little pink heart on the screen and didn't move. Ethan noticed the silence and jumped in. "All you think about is food. Lay off the spicy stuff, it's bad for your stomach. Your sister-in-law eats super clean, she wouldn't go for that. But she's way more reasonable than you. She won't hold this against you. Go take a shower and get some sleep. You've got bags under your eyes." He ruffled my hair as he spoke, then hung up the phone. Like nothing had happened. I flinched away from his hand. That cheap, hollow kindness was starting to make me sick to my stomach. The exhaustion on Ethan's face was real. He hung up and headed straight for the bathroom. I stared blankly at his phone charging on the nightstand, and my mind raced. Suddenly, I grabbed my own phone and pulled up Lila's Instagram. Her profile was private, with only recent posts visible. There was nothing there. I glanced at the bathroom, where his shadow moved behind the frosted glass, and reached for his phone. No woman ever walks away from a man's phone feeling happy. That's why I'd never checked it before. I tried his birthday. Wrong. I tried my birthday. Wrong. What could it be? My hands shook, like I was doing something I shouldn't. 060199, it unlocked. June 1st. A date anyone could remember. It was Lila's birthday. And the 99? I hadn't guessed randomly. Ethan's bank card password was the day we met, followed by 99 for forever. Back in June, Ethan had gotten a promotion at the university. He'd loved teaching, and he'd been stressing over what to get his students as a gift. To him, even college students were just kids, young and sweet. On June 1st, I'd loaded up my car with my best friend and driven 2 carloads of gifts to his office for his students. He hadn't been there. He'd told me he had classes. But he'd actually been with Lila, who was back in the country visiting family, celebrating her birthday. Why had he lied? I didn't know. I guess the seeds had been planted back then. And I'd just been the idiot living in denial, refusing to wake up. I opened Ethan's texts like I was opening Pandora's box. Her conversation was pinned to the top, marked with that pink heart. The last message was from her, "Cuddle me." It was the same thing Ethan said to me all the time. I scrolled through their messages fast, like I was hunting for something. Snuggle up. Cuddle me. Be good. And all those cutesy emojis, nothing like the cold, serious professor everyone knew. So that's where he'd been taking his master class in affection. He'd learned all that soft, sweet stuff from her, then turned around and performed it for me. My chest got tight, like a boulder had dropped right on my lungs. The shower turned off. Ethan was whistling to himself in the bathroom, in a great mood. What was he so happy about? Was I ruining his fun by being home? I could barely breathe. But I held it together long enough to remember why I'd picked up his phone in the first place. I opened Lila's Instagram from his account. It wasn't private at all. Her latest post was from 3 days ago. It was a photo of her pale wrist, red and blistered. You could tell it was taken in her bedroom. And you could also tell she was only wearing black lace underwear. The caption was just one line, "Maybe I should just die." The first comment under it was from Ethan. "Please text me back. I haven't slept all night. I still have to take photos with her later." He'd added a sad, crying emoji. It wasn't Lila who replied. It was Derek Ford, one of Ethan's closest friends. "Dude, your girl's literally dying and you're worried about taking photos?" All those guys had watched me, the unexpected new partner, come in and break up their precious childhood couple. In their circle, I was just the replacement. Yeah, better get back here fast before something actually happens. Poor Lila, wasting her love on the wrong guy. Come on, guys. If they get hitched the second time around, we'll all chip in for a group wedding gift. Fuck. That last one was from Jasper. It felt like someone was stabbing me in the chest with a dull steak knife, over and over, slow and deep. I scrolled up more. Lila posted all the time. She was bright and funny, always posting silly little updates. Every single one had blocked me. "What are you doing?" The voice made me jump so bad I almost dropped the phone. I turned around. Ethan was standing there, a towel slung around his neck, completely naked, walking straight toward me. He really had run himself ragged these past few days. He'd lost weight. His phone buzzed nonstop in my hand. We both looked down at that pink heart at the same time. I stared right into his eyes and held the phone out to him. "Daddy." A little kid's voice came through the speaker. There was a rustle of movement on the other end. "Who told you to dial that number, huh?" "Hey." "Oh, Ethan, it was just Alan dialing by mistake." Before Ethan could say anything, Lila hung up in a hurry. This time, I couldn't keep pretending. Ethan froze, the phone still in his hand. Oh, Lila's. She had a boyfriend overseas. He was married and he lied to her. Left her alone with the baby. He said it like she was just a silly, troublesome kid he couldn't stay mad at. She's always been impulsive. She's had such a hard time over there. If it wasn't for us, do you have anything you want to say to me, Ethan? I cut him off. Even with that boulder crushing my chest, I didn't call him husband. Just his name. That was all. I looked him dead in the eye, waiting for him to spin another lie I'd stupidly believe, just like all the times before. He leaned in suddenly, the warm scent of his cedar shower gel wrapping around me. I leaned back, turning my face away. What's wrong, baby? Are you jealous? He smirked at me, like this was all some silly game. It's not what you think. If there was something between us, do you really think I'd have married you? The last of my strength crumbled. Tears spilled over before I could speak. But that kid called you daddy. More than him leaving me alone in Hokkaido, the kid was what broke me. Lila had been pregnant with Ethan's baby once before. By the time I found out, she'd already had the abortion. It had been right after Ethan decided to marry me. Our parents had met, and the date was set. At the engagement dinner, he'd gotten blackout drunk and barely spoken to me. He'd blamed me, the reasonable, unlucky new girl, for losing their baby. I told you, it's not like that. She's had such a rough time in the States. That guy was a total piece of shit. He was starting to get annoyed, rubbing his hair roughly with the towel. I wiped the tears off my face and raised my voice. Ethan, do you think I'm an idiot? Some other woman's kid is calling you daddy, and you think I'm just gonna sit around in this big house and play dumb? He saw how upset I was, how I wasn't going to let this go. He grabbed my shoulders, holding me tight so I couldn't move. The kid's dad has never been in the picture. He doesn't have a father figure. That's just attachment issues, right? We've known each other forever. The kid just sees me as a dad substitute. He didn't do anything wrong. It's not like I'm actually his dad. Are you really gonna fight with a little kid who doesn't have a dad? I stared at this man, spouting total nonsense, and laughed through the tears. I turned my head and wiped the last of the tears away. Okay. Don't be mad. Scarlett, you used to be so easygoing. I know I haven't been the best lately. I love you. He leaned in, like he always did, to kiss the tears off my cheeks. I turned my head away before he could. Honestly? It made me sick to my stomach. My mom knows we're back. We're supposed to go over for dinner tomorrow. Get some rest. You must be exhausted. Invite your parents too. I didn't even hesitate. No. They won't want to come. I stood up, walked past him, and headed for the guest room on the 3rd floor. The second I wrapped myself in the covers, the tears came flooding back. Watching Ethan stand there today, making excuses for that kid, it was equal parts infuriating and ridiculous. The man who was always so careful and precise had been so sloppy today. Nothing he said held up. Maybe he'd always been this bad. I'd just been too stupid to see it. I was so tired from crying. Right before I fell asleep, I forced myself to pick up my phone. I wanted to text Jasper. He was a lawyer, after all. I wanted him to draw up divorce papers. But I got stuck on Lila's Instagram post instead. This time, I'm gonna win. The photo was two adult hands wrapped around a tiny child's hand. I guess I'd been more tired than I thought. I didn't wake up until 10. I'd been dreading facing Ethan today, but it turned out I didn't have to. He wasn't home. I washed up quickly and checked my phone. There was a message from Ethan. I headed to my mom's first. Come over for lunch when you wake up. Cuddle me. I muted his notifications. Seeing the words cuddle me now didn't hurt like it used to. I'd texted Jasper last night and he hadn't replied. I hit call. Morning, princess. Sleep well? He made me laugh, just like that. Cut the crap. You saw my text last night. Let's get it done. Draw up the divorce papers for me. That's why I'd slept so well. In just a few days, I'd figured everything out. If you force something that isn't meant to be, it'll never work. Everyone knows that. I wasn't an exception. When a Scorpio makes a decision, she sticks to it. Just as fiercely as I'd decided to spend my whole life with him. I saw your message. I didn't reply 'cause it was the middle of the night, and I thought you might just be mad and making a rash decision. When I didn't say anything, he kept going. But if you're sure, I'm all in. I'll handle everything. I pressed my lips together, turning it over in my head. Jasper. You'll take this seriously, right? That set him off. Are you questioning my professional judgment? No. But coming from you? It feels like you're calling me an asshole. I knew he would. This wasn't the first time Jasper had bailed me out. Not since that first blind date, when Ethan wouldn't say 2 words to me. We finalized the plan and hung up. He was officially my lawyer now. Even if he did tell me to think it over one more time. I did my makeup nice and pretty, then stood in front of my closet for ages. It was full of dresses, all kinds. Ethan had loved them. He was so tall, we had a whole foot height difference. He used to joke that walking next to me was like walking a dog. I'd laughed and said, holding your hand feels like flying a kite. For Ethan, I'd bought dozens of sky-high heels. Wearing them made me feel like we were that picture-perfect power couple everyone thought we were. The couple that belonged together. This time, I was dressing for me. I put on my favorite sweats and sneakers and walked out the door. You need to lose the princess attitude now that you're married. This is your first time coming over since the wedding, and you sleep until noon? I'd barely stepped inside when Ethan's mom lit into me. I glanced at the pearl bracelet on her wrist, the one I'd spent thousands on. She'd told me she couldn't possibly accept such an expensive gift back then. Now she never took it off. Where's Ethan? I asked, ignoring the lecture. She'd been waiting for me to ask. The words came spilling out. He went to pick up Lila. She's been dying to come visit since she got back. I thought we'd all have dinner together. Her and her mom are only in town for a little while. It'll be nice to have everyone together. Those two have been thick as thieves since they were kids. Now that you're married to Ethan, you need to learn to accept his friends, especially Lila. You understand? She took my hand, warm and friendly, like we were family. But I knew who the real family was. Beep beep. Ethan's car pulled into the driveway. His mom grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the door. The back door swung open, and a little boy with curly hair came bolting out, straight into Ethan's mom's arms. Hi, Grandma. Ethan's dad was grinning from ear to ear. I saw they hadn't gotten out of the car yet, so I walked over. I pulled the door open, and both of them froze, looks on their faces like they'd been caught. Lila's hair was caught on the button of Ethan's dress shirt. Ethan was craning his neck back, trying to untangle it, but the more he fumbled the worse it got. There was a smudge of Lila's lipstick on Ethan's crisp white shirt, bright and impossible to miss. It was an accident. Don't get the wrong idea. I looked at them coldly. This kind of thing didn't even faze me anymore. Sure. Hurry up, though. I've got work this afternoon. The whole dinner, the two grandparents fussed over the kid. I sat there, picking at my food, with no appetite at all. Since we're all finally together as a family, let's make a toast. Ethan stood up, totally serious. Lila glanced at him and grabbed his other hand. Don't drink in the middle of the day. It's bad for you, Professor. Ethan smiled at her, soft and fond, and laced his fingers through hers. We grew up together. You're like a sister to me. I'm so glad you're back. Aren't I right, Scarlett? He nodded at me, like I was supposed to play along. I was sitting across from him, not next to him. When I didn't say anything or raise my glass, Ethan's mom grabbed the kid's juice box. Come on, buddy. Toast with everyone. Ethan set down his glass and walked over to me, putting his hands on my shoulders. He leaned down and whispered in my ear, "Don't make a scene. We'll talk about this when we get home." I turned my head and looked into those eyes I'd once known so well. I don't feel good. Take me to the hospital. Now. I wasn't faking. I really didn't feel good. A sharp cramp in my stomach had me doubled over, and I slumped forward onto the table. What's wrong? You were fine a minute ago. Ethan felt my forehead and pulled me up by the hand. I'd barely stood up when a wave of nausea hit me hard. I covered my mouth and stumbled toward the bathroom. I didn't make it 2 steps before the room started spinning. I fell right into Ethan's arms. Everyone rushed over to help. Dizzy and weak, I saw the curly-haired little boy, maybe 4 or 5 years old, making a face at me. I could read his lips. He said, "Homewrecker." The sharp smell of antiseptic in the hospital made my nausea worse. You didn't know you were pregnant? The doctor's words hung in the quiet exam room. Ethan and I stared at each other, stunned. I'd always been terrified of having kids. I probably could have gone my whole life without having one and been fine. But Ethan was different. He was an only child. Not having kids would have been the biggest regret of his life. Because I didn't want him to have that regret, I'd given in. But this baby had come at the worst possible time. You two need to be more careful, though. Your wife has a delicate constitution, and she's been under a lot of stress lately. At this point, the pregnancy isn't viable. But don't be too upset. You're both young. You'll have other chances. Take it easy and rest up. A mother needs to be happy first, okay? The doctor patted my cold hand as she spoke. It was a little life, after all. Ethan was way more upset than I was. He grabbed the doctor's sleeve. That can't be right. Doctor, please check again. The doctor pulled her arm away and adjusted her glasses. I understand how you feel. But next time, be more careful. Her body can't handle this kind of stress. Good. It was better this way. If the baby had stayed, I might have caved, tried to give it a decent dad. This way? There was nothing holding me back. At Ethan's insistence, the doctor prescribed a whole bag of supplements and medication. We got to the car, and when I didn't get in the passenger seat right away, he rolled down the window. "Aren't you getting in?" I tucked my wind-tousled hair back and pulled my scarf tighter. "I've got work to do." "You go on ahead." "Baby, we need to talk. Soon." I didn't wait for him to finish. I turned and walked the other way. "Are you really sure about this? You two just got married." Jasper slid a glass of warm water across the table to me. He was calmer than I expected, nothing like his usual cocky self. "I'm sure. I want to protect all my assets. What's his, I don't want. What's mine, I'm not giving up a cent of." "What if you won't sign?" "I'll file." We kept it short and to the point. Looking back, I'd been so stupid for so long, living in some perfect little fantasy I'd made up. Now that I was finally getting out, it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Buzz buzz. Jasper's phone rang. He glanced at me, then said, "Derek and the guys are having a get-together tonight. Wanna come? You know everyone. Ethan already said he'll be there." Hell yes, I was going. I used to skip these things, worried I'd cramp Ethan's style, that the guys wouldn't be able to mess around if I was there. I'd always been the reasonable one, stayed home. Now I wanted to see for myself what kind of people they really were. The dinner was at a private, upscale restaurant. Those guys always did know how to pick a spot. When Jasper and I walked up to the private room, I saw the looks on their faces change immediately. "What, not happy to see me?" Derek recovered fast, jumping up to pull out a chair. "Come on, Mrs. Hayes gracing us with her presence. We're thrilled." I didn't call him out on it. I sat down. Across from me, Tyler pulled out his phone and jerked his head at Derek behind my back. Jasper sat down next to me. His phone lit up on the table. "Group chat, where are you guys at? Call me when you get here, I'll come meet you. Do not just walk in." I smiled to myself and pulled my coat a little tighter. The door flew open suddenly, and a blast of cold air hit me right in the back. All three guys across from me shot straight up like they were in the military. Ethan, didn't you check your phone?" Tyler scratched the back of his neck, awkward. I brushed a piece of lint off my jacket and stood up slowly. Lila's voice was bright and happy, impossible to miss. "Nah, he was driving. I had his phone." I turned around and looked right at both of them. "What are you doing here?" Lila's eyebrows furrowed immediately, but she didn't let go of Ethan's arm. "Am I not allowed to be here?" I smiled at them, calm and steady. This was gonna be good. Full-on drama. Jasper stood up to smooth things over. "Of course you're allowed. Come on, everyone sit down. I was in court all afternoon. I'm starving." I shot Jasper a look. Liar. He'd been at my office all afternoon working on the divorce papers. He caught my eye and laughed, pulling me down into my seat. A minute later, the waitress walked in with the little boy, who was clutching a teddy bear. What a perfect little family. They really couldn't stay apart, could they? I really looked at the kid for the first time. He looked a lot like Ethan. Same eyes, same eyebrows. The more I looked, the more alike they seemed. The second the waitress set him down, he ran straight at me and bit my arm. I yelped in pain, but he wouldn't let go. I tried to pull him off, and Lila shoved me hard. Before I could even stand up straight, a slap landed right across my face. "Are you serious, Scarlett? You lose your own baby so you take it out on mine? The kid snuggled into her arms, safe and sound. Go away, mean lady. My mom says you're a homewrecker. I grabbed the glass of water off the table and threw it right in both their faces. I snapped at the little brat, sharp and cold, you've got a mom but no one to teach you manners. Pathetic. Ethan pulled me behind him, putting himself between me and them. Lila, can you just calm down? She just lost her baby. I glanced around the room. Everyone's jaws were on the floor. No one had expected Professor Hayes, the upstanding family man, to be wrapped up in something this messy. This was the first time the three of us had it out face to face. Lila held the boy tight and stepped right up to Ethan. Why should I calm down? Why am I always the one who has to back off? Just 'cause Scarlett's richer and better for your reputation? Ethan, look at Alan. Look me in the eye and tell me you have a conscience. Tears streamed down Lila's face. Tyler tried to step in and smooth things over. Come on, guys. It's been hard on everyone. We're all good now, right? Shut up. I pulled free of Ethan's grip and cut Tyler off. You're all just a bunch of spineless enablers, aren't you? You helped Ethan lie to Lila for years, string her along while she was overseas pining after him. Now you're all helping him lie to me. If you're such great friends, why don't you marry him? Ethan had never seen me like this, a meek, quiet Scarlett, finally snapping. Scarlett, you really want to do this right now? Today's Alan's birthday. I glanced at the cake on the table and laughed. Ethan, Lila asked you a question. Where's your conscience? Do you even have one? Ethan looked like he was the wronged one, confused and hurt. I just lost our baby too. I turned the cake around in front of me, slowly untying the fancy black ribbon. Then I flipped it upside down, right onto the table. The kid screamed louder. Spare me, Professor. Did the ivory tower of academia teach you how to be a hypocrite, or did you figure that out all on your own? I grabbed Jasper's water glass and splashed Ethan with it too. The whole family deserved it. I left the room, leaving all of them stunned behind me. For the first time in forever, I took a deep, clean breath. Like a fish that had been stuck at the bottom of a lake, finally breaking the surface. Fast footsteps ran after me. It was Jasper. It was snowing. Big, soft flakes landed on my face. The cold wind slipped under my scarf, and I shivered. Come on, get in the car. It's freezing out here, especially after today. I'd told Jasper about the miscarriage. I didn't know if it would help with the divorce. But I needed someone to know the whole truth. Someone who wouldn't fall for Ethan's nice guy act. The windows fogged up fast, blurring the world outside. Jasper, can I have a cigarette? He stared at me for a second, then handed me one. He couldn't help but ask, when did you start smoking? I wiped the fog off the window with my hand and stared out at the people walking by. The first time I got jealous of Lila. The first time Ethan lied to me about her. Once upon a time, Ethan had been the man who planted flowers in my heart. Now, looking back, all those memories just burned holes in it. I held back the tears, eyes burning red. I took a long drag, then stubbed the cigarette out hard in the water bottle Jasper had ready. I'm sorry. I know you're his best friend. This must put you in a weird spot. I had to admit it. Some part of me had been using Jasper. Don't be stupid. I'm your lawyer. You can at least trust me to do my job right. We went over the papers in the back seat, making edits. I must have been exhausted, because I fell asleep without realizing it. When I woke up, he was leaning his head on one hand, and I was curled up with my head on his lap. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to fall asleep. I shifted to sit up, and yelped. My hair was caught on his belt buckle. Jasper, who'd been dozing, started laughing, awkward and surprised. This is ridiculous. Hold on, let me get it. He reached down to unbuckle his belt so I could get my hair free. Suddenly, the door was wrenched open. Cold air and snow blew right in. Ethan's voice was tight with rage. Scarlett, you got anything to say for yourself? Do you have any idea what you're doing? Ethan was losing it. This was the first time I'd ever seen him this mad over me. He grabbed my wrist tight and dragged me out of the car. I grabbed my scarf off the seat and wrapped it around me, totally calm. It's not what you think. Let go of me. What, am I supposed to be blind? Ethan looked like a wild animal. He didn't care about being a professor anymore. I thought back to earlier that day, at his parents' house. It was exactly the same. I smiled, cold and sharp. It was an accident. Don't get the wrong idea. That line came right back to bite him, dead on. Ethan froze. It made me sick to my stomach. I thought I knew him. If he was truly innocent, he'd be yelling, defending himself, proving I was wrong. He'd make me feel like the crazy one, just like always. But he didn't do any of that. He just stood there, frozen. I pulled my wrist free and rubbed it. So did the truth even matter? Deep down, Ethan had already planned on getting back together with his childhood sweetheart. I was just the unreasonable one ruining his perfect little life. I nodded at Jasper, telling him to go on ahead. Then I turned and walked into the building. Snow fell on the cherry blossom tree in the yard. Everything was dead quiet. Ethan ran after me, fast on my heels. When I didn't slow down, he reached for my hand. I turned around and slapped him as hard as I could. All the hurt, all the anger, none of it had to hide behind being reasonable anymore. Ethan, the divorce papers will be on your desk tomorrow. Sign them. Go play happy family with your girlfriend and your kid. And stop making me sick. Moving back in with my parents was quiet, easy. My parents shielded me from all the gossip about the newlyweds getting divorced so fast. When my mom found out about the miscarriage, she made me nourishing soups every single day, crying as she cooked. Sometimes I'd tilt my head and ask her, "Mom, did I embarrass you?" She'd cup my face in her hands, so gentle. "I'm the one who's sorry. I didn't protect you. You didn't deserve any of this." My dad waited for me in the driveway every night when he got home from work. Just like he'd waited for me at the end of the street when I was a kid coming home from school. Ethan couldn't find me at home, so he started waiting for me outside my office building every day. I made you soup. Followed the doctor's orders exactly. Simmered all morning. I didn't avoid him. I looked at the thermos he held out. Your hands are for teaching, Professor. Think about the divorce. It's better for both of us. Don't drag this out. It's not worth it. I turned to leave, and he stepped in front of me. What if I won't sign? I looked up at that face, the one I'd once been so crazy about. Then I'll file. And you'll lose. Badly. And if you care about keeping your job, you'll sign. I held up my phone. The dial screen was open to Principal Hale. He was an old friend of my dad's. Without his support, Ethan never would have climbed the ladder so fast on his own. Ethan finally panicked when he realized I was serious. "Scarlett, why won't you believe me? There's nothing between us. If you don't believe me, I'll take a paternity test. I swear." Watching him run around after me, his hair a mess from the wind, it was almost funny. "Ethan, do you still think I'm just throwing a tantrum?" I knocked the thermos out of his hand. It rolled across the sidewalk, clattering. People on their way home from work turned to stare. Ethan had never been humiliated like this. He snapped, raising his voice. "Fine, you can leave me, but Jasper? He's my best friend." I looked at the people staring. Ethan probably thought he could make me look like the bad guy. "Mr. Hayes, spare me the chase after pointless drama act. I'm divorcing you because I'm sick of your lies. Sick of being your second choice." I poked his crumpled suit jacket with my finger, over and over. My office was in the biggest business district in Bayview City. There was no place faster for gossip to spread. By the time I got home that afternoon, it was all over the local trending topics. Power couple fights in the street. Harbor University professor begs for forgiveness. I clicked on the comments, curious. Went to elementary school with him. Total self-made man from a working-class background. Knew this would happen eventually. The brilliant young professor, the rising star of the university, had become the town's latest punchline overnight. "Ethan, you did this to yourself. You ruined us, and you ruined you. Don't blame me." It was early spring by the time I saw Ethan again. He'd finally agreed to sign. We met at the house. I'd always been in such a hurry to leave before, I'd never really noticed the street. Someone had planted climbing roses all along the fence. They swayed in the soft breeze. The front door was ajar, so I walked right in. It had been so long since I'd been home. The place felt different. When we'd first moved in, my dad had wanted to gift us a pair of topiary olive trees. He'd even picked them out, but Ethan had said no. Said it was too expensive, that it would hurt his pride. Even though I'd loved them. Now there was one sitting in the front yard, planted nice and proper. I stood in the living room and looked around. There were fresh flowers and new decorations everywhere. The place felt more alive than it ever had. "Thought you'd be later. I've got dessert almost ready." Ethan walked out, wiping his hands on his apron. He'd made a whole table of my favorite foods. I'd learned to do so many things for Ethan, but I'd never been able to cook. My mom had tried to hire a housekeeper, but Ethan had said no, he didn't like strangers in the house. We'd always eaten simple, easy meals. Looking at the food spread out in front of me, I realized how good Ethan was at pretending. All these years, and I never knew you could cook. He smiled, awkward, and pulled out a chair for me. "Let's not waste time. If they're signed, give them to me. I'll sign and go." I pulled the signed papers out of my bag. Ethan took off his apron and dropped to his knees right in front of me. "Baby, I was wrong. Please. Give me another chance." I set my bag down and looked at this man, the proud professor who'd walked around like he owned the place just a few months ago. And I laughed. He crawled toward me, reaching for my hand. I pulled away, crossing my arms. "Ethan, you're not wrong. We're adults. We know right from wrong. You did this on purpose. You don't get to apologize now." I'd rather he just walk away with some dignity than beg like this. Watching the man I once loved fall apart in front of me? It hurt. But he never thought about that. Not once. Scarlett, Lila went to the university. She's messing with my tenure review. I cut her off, I swear. I haven't texted her back since. He held up his phone. The chat was full of long, desperate messages from Lila. There was even a photo of her wrist, covered in shallow cuts. What goes around comes around, I guess. I remembered you liked the olive trees. I found one. Had it planted. All the roses out front? I planted them for you. Look at my hands. Ethan's hands always got bad eczema in the changing seasons. He dug and planted so much that his fingerprints were practically gone. I reached down and helped him up. His face lit up, like he'd already won. He stood up, and I looked him dead in the eye. Ethan, you wasted your talent being a teacher. You should have been an actor. Clearly you haven't thought this through. We'll go through the courts. The summons will be sent to Harbor University. I left the country for 2 years after the divorce. The Scarlett who'd locked herself away for love? I'd left her behind in Hokkaido, broken and sad. Jasper picked me up at the airport when I came back. You staying for good this time? I didn't answer. I rummaged through the glove compartment of his car. Where are the cigarettes? He had one hand on the wheel, the other propped on his head. I quit. I asked you a question. Are you staying or not? The light turned red. He stopped the car. I hadn't really thought about it. I didn't know what to say. I'll stay if it's nice. If it sucks, I'll leave. From now on, I go where the good stuff is. Suddenly, the radio turned on, the local station. The host's voice was familiar. Hey, you hear about that Harbor University professor who got caught messing around with someone's family? It's been everywhere. Yeah, I heard. Dude got in trouble for cheating on his wife once before, right? I perked up, grinning over at Jasper. Trump got re-elected president, and some people still never change their spots. Once, on my birthday, we'd both had too much to drink. I finally worked up the courage to ask him. That day in Hokkaido. Why'd you come all that way? He took a long drag of his cigarette, then pinched it out with his bare fingers. Nothing's ever sudden. I'd been ready for a long time. I still don't know what I want out of life. My dad always says you just have to keep moving forward. The bad part is, we never really know which way forward is. The good part? As long as you keep walking, every direction is forward.